gods and goddesses have returned. They have been resurrected and pulled from the Nebu Ka Ma'at sarcophagus by the hand of Atum, our own authority of this day and time. Now take a seat. Sit back and listen to one of the master's students, Sekhem, Meduty, one raised by the master of masters, as he teaches the liberation information of this day and time. Nuwapu. It is truly our time.
أنت تعرف قلبي قول لي يا حبيبي أني وأسمع أنت تعرف كل شيء.
www.nwapuinc.com.
You got a combination of them messing around with stuff they shouldn't be, and then you got the dimensions in the face right now. So you got species disappearing, new species popping up. They find it in the ocean. They find it like hundreds of thousands of new species every day. Every day. It's in the ocean. You know, when a new life starts on this planet, it starts. This guy, this guy, you know, it's a cycle. So what's going on with the planet? As the planet shifting, you got new species coming up. You got certain, for example, you take a seed, a certain type of plant, the seed of a certain type of plant, you put it in the ground, and if that seed is only supposed to sprout during a certain season, you know, you can sit it in the ground, water it, fertilize, do everything you want to do. You know, spring won't sprout. Summer won't sprout, fall won't sprout, next thing you know, winter, and seed just pops out. You know, wow. I mean, you know, you have perfect conditions for a plant to grow early and it wouldn't grow when it pops out. And then, you know, same goes for the opposite. You got certain seeds that, you know, they don't grow like you see in nature. You got certain plants that fall in winter conditions but not favorable to it. So they deteriorate and die or they wither in the winter and come back to life in the spring or something. So it goes with species. Also human species. And this is what they're finding out. This is what they know. You know, they're finding out that certain animals, you know, that were not here during the previous cycle are now coming forth because now the seed and everything. Those eggs were always in the water. You know, that seed, that germ of life was always there, just never germinated and came forth until now. You know, because it's the cycle of the season for it. So, they're coming up with all kinds of new life forms, you know. All of their calculations and measurements, the things that they, you know, made concrete, put it in books, said this is how things are, this is the way things are supposed to be from our calculations and our measurements. They got to rewrite all the stuff now. Even the books that kids are, you know, reading in school, the science books, they have to be rewritten because Pluto is now no longer a planet, correct? You know, they found out that it's an asteroid, it's not a planet. It's just a rock sitting out there, shouldn't be classified as a planet. So now you got to teach the kids that they're no longer 9 planets, they're 8 planets. All the books have to be rewritten with all these new discoveries. So science and scientists, you know, are changing and making adjustments. You know, archaeology and archaeologists are changing and making adjustments. The only people that are not changing, you know, and making adjustments are religious people. You know, the only people that are not shifting with nature because they want to stay stuck. You know, Christians are still putting the image of Jesus that goes totally against what scientists, historians, and archaeologists have now proven him to look like. They still want to go against that. We have individuals that are still sitting in those churches going with that image. He can't let it go. Because if he relinquished that, then he relinquished his power. That's his power. His only power is to have you worshiping him and not worshiping and revering and loving yourself. That's his only power. Father, and that's why they say that America is a Christian country. And Christianity, Judaism, those are Caucasian religions that help them stay in power. Because as long as you believe in Judaism, as long as you believe in people called, fictitious people called Israelites or Hebrews, then you believe that the Caucasian Jews, whether they're Sephardic, Ashkenazi, right, Jew that you see today, Khazar, Jew that you see today, is, all the original Hebrews are Israelites. No matter if you go and create a code and say, the Israelites are black people, so you're still going on mythology, because they still haven't proven that a group of people, better yet, they still haven't proven a man named Abraham, where these groups of people get their name from, existed. Still can't prove it. So even if you try to take his religions and put a black face on it and make it the black thing, you're still basing it on mythology. Fiction. You follow? So none of that will work for us today. No religion, whether we put a black face on it, a tan face on it, whatever, won't work for us. Because they're still giving something he created energy and power. And as long as he has that, as long as he has your energy and your power going towards something that he put his stamp on and has his root seed in it, you're giving him power. So none of that's going to work for us. No, not only is it not going to remove him out of control or rulership or dominion over you, but it's not going to put you back in power because you're not calling on your ancient ancestral forces. You're skipping over your ancestors. And that's an insult to them. They protect you and they guide you. And what do? You go and worship Caucasians, Arabs, etc. Everything but yourself. So until we acknowledge and embrace our own ancestral forces and deal with them only, our people are going to continue to see themselves. I don't care what kind of financial situation he allows you to be put into. As you can see now, they're putting all these guys in jail now anyway. If you got empowered by him giving it to you, then that's something he can take away at any moment. And as soon as you stop conforming and aiding and doing what he wants you to do, Will Smith is fine as long as he's up there saying everything they like. You follow what I'm saying? But as soon as Will Smith starts to do a Dave Chappelle, then they will snatch him from up. And Dave Chappelle, he got to that point, he said, no, I tell you what, I just go do road shows the rest of my life. I don't need it. You follow me? I don't want to sleep with another man just so I can have millions. And that's the initiation that they go through. They got to break their leg and they got to sleep with another man. That's why they say in Hollywood, when you go out on stage, break a leg. So, he chose not to do it. So, as long as the power you required he gave you, then, inevitably he'll take it back as soon as, you're not worth it anymore. You got a question?
Yeah, back when we were talking about the fictional Bible character. What about the tribe in Africa? I want to say it's Colossians.
Colossians.
Yeah, they say it descends from the Jewish, the Israelites. Isn't that proof of the existence of the Israelites? The fact that they say they descend from.
Once you get into the origin of the so-called Judaic religion and find out exactly where it came from, you'll find out that, for example, when you're dealing with Abraham in the Bible, where did Abraham descend from? Where did he come? Where did he cross over from? The Tigris Euphrates, from what? Chaldea, or Chaldea. Abraham was a Sumerian. You follow? And the Sumerians had a certain doctrine that they lived by while in their land. Now, when they came over to Africa, they found totally different, more advanced, more philosophically correct doctrine, right? That they had to attempt to convert over to or add to their religious doctrine. You follow? So Abraham, being that he came from one school of thought and he was upgraded once he came over into Africa, they fused their culture into ancient Egyptian and Tamarian culture, and the priests that were giving them the information would only give it to them in the form that accept it or take it. You follow? And that information ended up on down through time being further diluted and distorted into the Judaic religion. You follow? But the essence of the Judaic religion in itself, when we go back to it, is simply a different doctrine, just watered down in the form that those Sumerians can take it. The Phoenicians are not a pure seed of African lineage. They're a mixture. They're a mixture of Sumerians or Kidmanites, as the Bible called them, which means Easterners. They came from the East. And they mixed in with the Nubans that were living in Africa at the time to produce that culture. You follow? And that's why they have little no baby to curly hair and African features, most of them. You follow? But
is that the same as the 46 dynasty, that experiment with the 46?
it all ties into it. The 46 dynasties were a combination of the two breeds of Negroid. One Negroid being of the Sumerian stock. They were taller, more African features, straight to wavy hair, that bred with the original Nubans that were in Africa and Tamalay at the time.
I don't know where I read this, but it was just yesterday, the day before. But it was stating that the Sumerians were in the genus Homo sapiens.
The Sumerians?
Yeah.
Well, a particular strand or breed of Sumerian. You follow? For example, the particular breed or strand of Sumerian, because you got to realize you're dealing with different time periods. You follow? And when it says the genus Homo state, just like the Caucasian, he takes, genus Homo erectus, Homo sapien, skip over the Homo saurus, even though everything in your body tells them that you were a water creature, you are reptilian. Have reptilian, have mammal. He still, even in there's the Tammanian doctrine also dictates this. But he chooses to ignore that. So what he does, he tries to classify it. In classifying, he's now found out that you have Cro-Magnon, you have different strands of different breeds of what they call Homo erectus, Homo genus. You have different strands and different breeds and different time periods. You know what I'm saying?
Could you give an example of, or if there is an example of a different strand of, I guess, a Homo sapien?
Yes, they are. The fact that you're looking at different strands of it now. Follow? You're looking at different races and different species of the planet that are at the point of, now everyone's not, even though they try to tell you everyone is at a certain evolutionary stage, they're not, because you still have people that are born with tails, coccyx, right? You still have people that are born with 6 fingers and 6 toes. You still have people that are born with hydrocephalic. There's a guy downtown, I don't know if y'all ever seen him. I mean, this guy's head, the size of, the size of that chair. I mean, seriously. Now, what happened, he's a strand of an extinct race that they still pop up. You follow what I'm saying? So everybody's not at the stage, a Homo sapien stage, one stage or one strand of Homo sapien, as he tried to tell you, because he has to put everything in a box, because that's the only way he can understand it. As if it's not separated and put complex and put in a box like that, he can't understand it. He can't grasp it. That's why everything right now is just totally rearranging his whole view of things. All his calculations, all his measurements are being proven wrong. So he got to change everything. Just the word atom and what they define it as has to be changed. The word atom means inability or unable to divide. As soon as you come up with it, as soon as you find out that the atom can be divided into smaller particles, such as protons, neutrons, and electrons, and beyond that, it can no longer be called an atom as you call it, if that's the definition you want to give to it. You follow? We're moving into another mode, another phase of existence, of creation. Because creation never stopped, as they teach you. Creation is still going on. Creation is still trying to perfect itself. They found out now that only 5% of normal matter concludes what they call life. Meaning that even though what we're considered our physical form is considered normal matter, right? Normal physical matter. They found out that they only know about 5%, or put it better yet, the universe only consists of 5% of what you call normal matter. The rest consists of what they call dark matter and dark energy. You follow? Now,
what exactly is that?
And now we're going to it. Now, even with the normal matter, which they say only 5%, a very small number of the universe consists of, only a tenth of that 5% is known by them, the life forms that they see. Meaning that only a tenth of that 5% they can put their finger on and say, okay, this is where that normal matter is. The other, everything outside of that, they don't know where it's at. What does that prove? That proves that even though you have a human species that's physical, you still have portions of physicality that you have not come in tune with, meaning that you're not a totally physical person yet. You haven't become in totality who you are supposed to be in the physical form. This is what we discussed a couple of weeks ago when we were saying you still haven't completed yourself. You have to master this. And how are you going to master this when they're saying that you're only a tenth of a portion of what a physical being is supposed to be? Activated DNA. And that's what it goes back to. And what they're finding out is you got DNA that's not activated, that's dormant. They call it junk DNA. You follow? So that goes into the somethingness. You follow? And that normal matter that they're talking about is matter after hydrogen, after the atom or atom. So beyond that, that's somethingness. When you get on this side of hydrogen, you get into somethingness. You follow? Now, what they're saying when they're talking about dark matter, that's when you're going into nothingness. You follow? That's when you're going into, and they say most of the universe is made of that. Only a small portion is made of what you call somethingness, or what they call, atomic matter. The rest is made of antimatter, or like you said, nothingness. That dark matter that they're talking about.
But there's only nothingness to us because we can't comprehend it.
That's it. And there's only no thing because it's a realm that you haven't been able to attune yourself into as of yet. You follow? Right. But it's a portion of you that has to be completed. It's a void right now. And that's why you have portions of abilities that you're not using. You have portions of organs in your body that you're not using, abilities that you haven't honed yet or taken control of yet because you're incomplete. There's a void, right? And that void we refer to as nothingness. Now that void is merging with this. And that's what they're finding out now is that the galaxy, now this energy in the galaxy, as these galaxies start to merge together, the energy starts to merge together. You follow? And as these energies start to merge together, it starts to change the matter that exists within the respective galaxy. The matter starts to alter itself. You follow what I'm saying? So the same way a hydrogen atom, right, is unstable, as they would say in scientific terms, and it only becomes stable after a certain point of being bombarded with certain energy that causes it to fuse with other hydrogen atoms and complete itself. At its point of completion, that hydrogen atom is no longer called hydrogen anymore, it's called helium. Now helium is stable. You follow? But can they put their hand on helium? No. Because hydrogen, because it's in an unstable state, you find it more frequently on the planet and within the universe. Helium is hard for them to put a finger on because once it becomes stable, it's harder to access. You follow? So you're going from an undisciplined state to a disciplined state, and everything in matter tends to go toward that way. You follow? A state of completing yourself, which is what we're headed for now. And finding out that, like I said, they're finding out the current human Homo sapien is not a complete being, and that it's headed toward another phase. Go ahead.
So the energy that you're talking about that's coming to the planet, is this the same energy that's referred to in the tablets when it said things in chapter 6 where it's a new energy hitting the planet called the transiality?
Exactly.
This is the same energy that science is talking about now, and that's the same as the green energy?
Exactly. Like that. As a matter of fact, they say it's green. The science tell you that it's green. They say when you look at it with certain cameras, it's green when it's coming into the atmosphere.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then I also found the tablets where it talks about things in chapter 6 as well, where it talks about the rings of Saturn reverse or something about that effect, and we'll know that
you'll know by the activity on the band of rings around Saturn, and you'll know by the abnormal activity on the sun, on the surface of the sun.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to NASA's website, they're confirming all this.
Yeah.
They're saying that there's something going on with the surface of the sun that they can't explain. They said certain poles, certain polarities, because on the sun, they could by looking at it with certain cameras, they can see certain magnets on the surface that are polarized a certain way, where it's saying that those polarities are switching on the surface, and the switching of those polarities are coinciding with the influx and the climax of the solar flares that are hitting the planet. You follow what I'm saying? Now, all of this is in the Holy Tablet. And he said that's how you're gonna know that the shift is taking place. Then he goes on to explain what has to happen to you genetically, right? Which is what's going on now. Which is why you're seeing all the chaos you're seeing right now. Because you have a group of people that have started to revolve, and a group of people that are continuing to evolve out of existence. You follow? And they're proving that to revolve, right, called revolution. Scientists are now referring to it as reverse evolution. They have proven this exists in certain fish that started to evolve to a certain state in Seattle, right, off the shores of Seattle. They started to reverse evolve to protect themselves or to survive. And they're now proving that these fish have stopped evolving and started to revolve back to a primordial state that they existed in, where they had more of a shell around their body, a hardened shell, to protect itself from predators that have come as of recently. So they've proven that animals or species can revolve to protect themselves, which is what will happen to those who are in tune. You will start to revolve back to an ancient primordial state to protect yourselves from all the pollution and the damage that he's done to the planet. You follow? And if you can't revolve and adjust and adapt, then you will perish. You follow?
And this happens naturally?
It happens naturally to those who still have the ability to do that. You follow? And that depends on the genetics, it depends on the genes. You can have people that may have had the genetic lineage or the capacity to do so, but because of the damage that they've done to their mind, their body, and their etheric cells, they won't be able to do it. You follow? And whether it's through food, whether it's through experience, whether it's through environment, whether it's through thinking or whatever. You follow? Because what religion does, religion puts you in a state where it locks you into what you can't do. And I constantly tell people, the Caucasian, he put invisible permanent chains on a lot of people's brains by telling them crap like, if it's too good to be true, then it is. But everything that's paradise and heaven for him is not too good to be true. Ask Donald Trump and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, is it too good to be true? They're living something that you wish you could live. But is it too good to be true for them? No, they gave that to you so they can limit how far you know who you feel or believe you can go. So they tell you, if someone comes to you with something telling you you can do this or you can become this or you can obtain this, then if it's too good to be true, then it is. So you keep permanent lock on your limiting you to a certain level of existence. When he doesn't have that, and whatever he wants, he either obtains it, or if it doesn't exist, he creates it. You follow? Now you can do this to a much greater degree than he can, but you can't do it while your potential is locked in a static state where it's not moving. You follow what I'm saying? So as long as you stay in that state, so you have to remove yourself from that, and then you start to get to a point where you say, you know what? All of this going on, I'm going to survive it. You follow? You have people going to say, I can't go out in the sun, it's too hot. You follow? You have black people they go out in the sun with umbrellas. So they've already locked their mind, and you don't realize your brain is a nucleus. You follow? So as your brain, that's what it says, a man thinketh, so shall he be. Because you start thinking a certain way, then your body starts to form and shape you the way that you envision yourself. So if you envision yourself as a person that cannot stand under the sun, a person that can't take certain conditions, then you will become that. That's why I said people can make themselves sick. People can say, I'm sick, and they just make themselves sick. You can do that to yourself. So whether it's a mental lock or block that you place on yourself, a physical block you place on yourself by your diet, or other crap we put in our bodies, that can determine whether or not, or seal your fate, as they say, as whether or not you will survive the shifts and the changes. Your body's in your brain, you know, your spirit, your body, everything's shifting right now. If you're not careful, it can send you crazy if you're not careful. And that's why you're supposed to be in a more stable environment, a more balanced environment, so these changes won't cause insanity or insane as the Quran calls it. Next question.
Reading 9 bar, it's talking about death. Life basically is a burning, and when the burning stops, that's death. And it alluded to the fact like there was no afterlife or something to that effect. So the question is, what happens when you die?
It goes back to what I was explaining a couple of weeks ago when the sister was asking at what point does the spirit take over a child? At what point does that child get a spirit? You know what I'm saying? And what happens and it happens more often than none in this country, is you have people who use the statement disembodied souls. You got people, not disembodied souls, you got disembodied people. You got people that don't have a soul. You got people that don't have a spirit. You follow? You have people, what happens, the energy that takes a liking to you during your lifetime, right? And like I was telling people, the master teacher broke down how you have something that's maturing inside of you, incubating inside of you, the same way you were incubating inside of your mother for 9 months, and eventually you were birthed. You have a unbirthed deity that's gestating inside of you that has to be brought forward. It has to be triggered to start to grow and mature. You have to have the proper conditions and the proper nourishment for that, just like any child, to be born and birthed inside of you. You follow what I'm saying? Now, if that doesn't happen, then at that point of the termination of that burning, which is just breathing, that the master teacher speaks of, then there's no afterlife for that person. You follow what I'm saying? And what is soul and spirit goes into it when it explains that certain entities, because they have not gestated or matured long enough in the physical realm, when they leave the body, right? When they leave, when the different molecules of that entity leave the physical body, they're not intact or strong enough to maintain the second shell that you're supposed to take on after you leave this shell. And because it's not strong or mature enough to do so, it dissipates and it goes back and it recycles itself as a part of molecules and atoms in the atmosphere, Earth, universe, etc. You follow what I'm saying? So no, every person that expires, have an afterlife. Your afterlife is to the degree of how you live your life in this physical. And that's where the whole concept of heaven and hell came from. You follow what I'm saying? So you have people that have not matured their spiritual or their ka and their ba enough to go on to allow it to transition to the next realm. You follow what I'm saying? Now, that also takes another point in view, meaning that if you, as a person, and a certain leg of your genealogy doesn't cross over with the cycles, then that's the end of that lineage also. You follow? It's to say that as long as we were reproducing children that can carry on our generation for generation after generation, that extended your life. Because the same way that you're here, as time goes on, and you have children that exist generations on down, you exist through them. You follow? That's a vehicle that you continue to move through. This life that you're living right now is not the first life you lived. You lived before, on through your lineage. You have a prior existence. So what happens when that lineage stops is it cuts off. You follow? So there's a different mechanism. We have an individual ka and a ba that exists within you, but then you have the lineage of your ancestors that move through you. And whether or not they survive the crossover from the third to the fourth dimension, or from the hell side of the duat to the heavenly side of the duat, you determine that by the decisions you make. You follow? Because right now, they like the Master Teacher said, they're only looking for certain gene pools anyway. They're only looking for certain groups of genetics, groups of people to bring over to the next cycle anyway. Certain gene pools they looked at and they're like, no, that's it for that. That's the end of that gene pool. They don't want that gene pool to go on no more. And those gene pools will naturally destroy themselves. It's like you know people that you're like, man, he just don't get it, she just don't get it, and they constantly are doing destructive things. You follow? And you're trying to figure it out. And the thing, there's no need to try to figure it out because that gene pool will destroy itself, whether you try to stop it or not. Now, what you may do is get yourself destroyed in the process by trying to stop it from destroying itself. But nature will take its course. That gene pool, it has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with whether God or the devil likes you or not. It has to do with whether or not your gene pool is supposed to continue on. Your lineage is supposed to continue on. All right? Sister back here.
Yeah, you said something triggers it. What is that trigger? I mean,
What put you in this class today? Truth. Because the physical you wants lies. The physical you wants pleasure. You follow? The physical you wants illusions. But you have a higher part of you that only deals with truth. You follow? It only deals with the first, not the illusionary seconds. You follow what I'm saying? So that part of you is triggered by something that it knows is true and real. But you existing in a realm that constantly tries to hide that and distort it and move away from it. There's a battle. This battle that takes place in ancient Tamaray was the battle between Ha or Haru and Satuk. The higher aspect of humans and the lower aspect of humans. You follow? So that's the battle that Muslims refer to as jihad and mistakenly think that it's a physical war. You follow? It's a war between the God you and the satanic or demonic you, which is the physical body that constantly keeps you in trouble. You're wanting to pacify it and satisfy it. You follow? But the more you cater to the aspect of you that wants to know truth, that wants to abide in truth and embody truth, it will start to grow and mature and eventually will take over. You follow? Is that to say that you will ever get to a point where you won't have a physical desire? No, you won't. As long as you're in a physical body, you will do something that will screw up. You follow? But there's a balance between the two. And the balance doesn't always mean 50-50. You follow? You have to get to a point in your life to where your higher self controls the majority of your life, and that will balance out the negative lower self and its screw-ups. You follow? And that's how you start to mature the higher deity within yourself. And you'll start to see the creativity, the energy, the zeal, the positivity. You follow? And you will see limitations removed from yourself because it doesn't live by limitation. You follow? That was the Matrix movie was all about, of trying to tell him, like, look, there's a part of you that doesn't live by what they say you can't do. And he fears that. He fears the point that we get to and we say, well, I don't care what you say, this is what I want to do. You follow? When we get to the point of saying that I can do whatever I want to do. You follow? And he's shaking at that point. So that part of you doesn't live by his laws and limitations. And that's the part of you that you have to cultivate. You have to groom. And as it starts to take over, you'll see the change just fall off. And you'll see yourself start to think totally different. And you will start to do greater things than we're doing now. And that's the point we have to get to. And he's doing his best to impede or stop or hinder that from happening with our people.
www.nawapuinc.com.
Next question. This is back a little earlier when I came in. You was it got to the Sumerian doctrine. We was talking about that. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but where I have a little gray area is exactly, and I know you've heard it before, but the split between the Sumerian doctrine and ancient Egyptians. Now, it appears to me that the ancient Egyptian doctrine predates it, but it's always said that the Anunnaki came first, because it said that they're the first civilization on the planet. So I'm stuck between, if they're the first civilization, then what about time already?
Okay, and I get this question. I used to get it a lot. I guess people kind of stop asking it now. As far as the Sumerians being the first civilization, the Sumerians were the first of what you refer to as cities. Cities. And I always tell people that word city is just short for parasites. Parasites. You know what I'm saying? Right. The Sumerians were the first what you call cities. You follow? The Nubians and Tamaday had a more simplistic way of life. You follow? And they dealt with a higher type of doctrine than the Sumerians did. The Sumerians were following a doctrine that they had gotten from what you refer to as Anakites. These were tall beings, you follow, that dealt with a different doctrine than the short gods, pygmy gods, or tides that the Nubians in Africa were in tune with and were learning from.
And Anakites came from those, the Nirvana?
Exactly. The Anakites were 6 ether. They were 8, 7, and 6 ether, and the gods that the Nubians were dealing with were 9 ether. And they dealt with a higher philosophical doctrine called Nuwapu. And that was other than what they were being taught in Shum.
Is this the same? These Anakites, I'm just making sure I'm aligned and got it right. These Anakites, are these the ones that was cast from Ilium?
Exactly. When you say cast from Ilium, these are the Anakites that were cast down to earth. When you read in the Bible about 2 groups, Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 talks about 2 groups. It says there were giants in the earth in those days, and there was a group that came and they took the daughters of men.
Right.
You follow? When the planet was being invaded by a malevolent race of taller beings. They were dark, just like we are, but they were taller beings, and they were of a disagreeable nature. And they came and they started to mix with the original women on the planet and distorted the seed, the gene. Then another group came after that, called the Sons of God. And they said these were men of renown, which is a mistranslation. The word in the Hebrew is Shem, men of the skies. He said these were great men. And these men came and offset what that previous race of beings that came down and done to correct the gene. They came down to see the women, right, to alter the gene so they can have children that would have a different nature than the ones that was distorted and tainted by the previous race that came down and threw the race off, threw the genetics off. And they came down later to offset that. You follow by mixing in with that, mixing in with those tribes of women.
And this took place in Sumer?
This took place in Sumer and in Africa. You gotta realize that Sumer and Africa were all one continent. You follow? When you speak of Gan or Ganawa, that comprised of everything from the Tigris, Euphrates, all the way at one point to California. You follow?
Oh, that's right.
All the way to California. That was our land. You follow? And then later on, as the continents start to split, you start to see one continent of Africa, and then you see now you have Sumer, and Sumer separated. Where you put dirt, until you put dirt in the Red Sea, you'll see it all connects. Right. You follow? Right. So Asia and Africa was considered the garden or Gan at one time. You follow what I'm saying? And that's why you can see similarities between the cultures. You go, they doing digs and research in India, and they finding that the cultures were the same because the cultures were intermixing with each other. You follow what I'm saying? In the same way you have Kush in Africa, you have Indus or Indian Kush Valley in Asia also. You follow what I'm saying? You have to remember, they're Kush also. Ooh. They're Kush also. When you say Kush, you're just saying black.
Okay.
You follow? But if you study what Herodotus, right, and Plato and them was talking about in their writings, they said that they encountered 2 types of Ethiopians, right? And the original way they spelled it was Aethiopian. Aethiop, which the word aether, if you look at the word ether, the etymology of it is A-E-T-H-E-R. So these are Ethiopians, and they refer to them that because they knew they were the ether people. If you go back to the Tulu Society or the Theosophical Society, they talk about a time when there were no physical humans on the planet, there were only Etherians on the planet. This goes back into that doctrine. So they knew that they were the direct descendants of ether people, so they referred to them as Ethiopians. They knew there was two types. You had Ethiop, they said they encountered Ethiopians with curly hair, looked like it was so tight you couldn't pull it out, big nose, big lips, and then you had Ethiopians that had Atum features and wavy to straight hair. You follow? They referred both of them as Ethiopians. You follow? So you had the 8 to 7 ether seed, right? And then you had the 9 ether Nubian seed. And they would live, even though you had the one that was of a more malevolent nature, but they had more of an affinity for each other than the other later tribes that came about. You follow?
Okay, like the Watusis and the Pygmies.
Exactly. The Watusi, when you're talking about the Watusi, you're talking about a taller tribe of Nubians that were mixed in with certain beings, like the Dinka people, Menubo, the basketball player. The one that's like 7 foot tall, but he had woolly hair. You know what I'm saying? That they were invaded and mixed in with by that Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 when that tribe came down and mixed with them and produced that tribe. You follow that taller tribe. You follow what I'm saying? And so that's the Watusi or the Kuthite. And the Kuthite and the beings that came to mix with them are referred to as Dravidians. And they were a taller race of Hindu. They were dark and came and mixed in with them. Now, produced different strands. They produced some that had wavy hair that were taller, and some that had woolly hair that were taller. But they were all mixed in with that particular race, that particular tribe, who they referred to as Nomos or Nomos. And they were a mixture of Shaggy and Reptilian. You follow? When you're looking at a Hindu, you're looking at a Shaggy. You follow? When you talk of Enkidu in the Bible, you're talking about that he was a Hindu. He was of the Hindu race. You follow? And that tribe, that race came to mix in with a group of people that were already here and produced this Frankenstein that you see today. This mixture and conglomerate of different people on the planet. So the original height went from 2.5 to 4.5 feet tall, right, to 5 feet, 6 feet, and up.
Which one of the sets built the Sphinx?
The Sphinx was built prior to yeah. First of all, the original Sphinx was a female, Neith. You follow? Later on, when patriarchal leaders or rulers came in, they changed it to a male. And they're different one depending on which rulership. Khufu changed it, Taharqa changed it. They would all change it to how they look. The original deity in the Sphinx, the original feline, was a woman.
So where did cat worship come from?
Cat worship was our doctrine. You follow? Everything was as certain tribes came in, like I said, the doctrine started to become coded. And we were coded by whatever tribe we were teaching at the time became familiar with. You follow? Now the Thais didn't identify anything with animals. You follow? That's why first of all, the Thais didn't use pictorials or pictures or hieroglyphs or anything. That came in later. You follow what I'm saying? They didn't use animals. But as certain tribes came in and the doctrine had to start getting watered down to a level that certain tribes could understand it. When we were bringing them through the mystery schools, then we started to associate it with things that they were familiar with, such as animals. So one of the things that the female became identified with was a feline. You follow? And there were certain reasons because of the nature of a feline. You follow what I'm saying?
So true or false? Now you opened a can of words a few minutes ago. You said that the planet existed with Etherians prior to our physical form.
Exactly.
All right, I'm with you. Mm-hmm. So the Etherians incarnated into certain beings on the planet, true or false?
Then the Etherians grew into certain beings.
Like different animals and all?
Depending on which species. First of all, the Thai race, our ancestors, that's when it says 9 ether grew the universes in their ether form. You follow? Before you became a physical being, you were in an etheric state, growing and existing in nature. You follow? Now, as your density level started to slow down, your vibration started to slow down, you went from the atmosphere in the planet to the waters. And then in the water, you started to grow into what? Amoeba, fungi, algae, and later on into sea creatures, aquatic creatures, and then later on into land.
Kind of like the reversing gas, liquid, ice.
Yeah,
reverse.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
You went from an etheric state. Exactly. You went from an etheric state, right, to a gaseous state, to water, to physical. Because you got what do you have? You have solid, liquid. Okay. You have solid, liquid, gas, and then after that, what do they say after gas? You have ultra gaseous matter, which they call plasma. You follow? They call a plasma state. They say that's the fourth density, that's the fourth level of physicality. When you go from solid, liquid, gas, and then after gas, you got to stay beyond that. They refer to that as plasma or exoplasma. And then you start to go into finer forms of it. You got a question?
Oh, yeah. Going back to last week when we were talking about the rapture, harvest. You said harvest, which you eat this. I always thought the rapture was a good thing.
Yeah, because in religious doctrine or dogma, they teach you that. You thought everything in the Bible was good. You thought what God was doing to Adam and Eve, or the part that God played in Genesis chapter 3 was good, and what the serpent, not the devil, the serpent in Genesis chapter 3 was bad. And that's the whole concept, to make evil fair seem, to make you think you want to do it. That's what he does now. He makes you think you want everything he's putting out here for you. You tell most people you don't need something, or most of this garbage out here, they say, well, we need it for this. And they give you a million reasons why they think they need it. And you give them one to show them they don't need it, and they look at you with this dazed look on their face, like I've never heard that before. And that's the whole thing. His thing is to make you think you need his garbage, and make you think what's bad for you is really good for you, and what's good for you is bad for you. You follow? So what they're doing now with Project Bluebeam, and I hope y'all went and looked, I told people weeks ago to go look it up, Project Bluebeam, what they're doing now, they have the hologram. Right? They have it. And all they're gonna do is they're gonna beam it, and they're gonna have all y'all, some of y'all in here gonna fall to your knees and start praying to it. I don't know why I'm laughing, y'all. All they need is start praying. They're gonna beam it straight through, and they're gonna show you, they're gonna have your Jesus and rapture image. You follow what I'm saying? You're gonna have a whole bunch of people, and it's gonna totally reverse. And I say reverse because it's going to get some of the elite. It's gonna get them. Those who are not strong enough mentally is going to get some of them. You follow what I'm saying? It's going to get them, and they're going to totally reverse their polarity back, and that's what they're doing now. You follow what I'm saying? They're getting stronger. You're seeing an act of desperation. You're seeing crosses, and Jesus is on everything now. That's his last act. This is his last act of desperation, because he knows his power is predicated on his religion. You follow? So his thing is to push as much of it out there as he can. And he's throwing everything at you, but the sin. He's throwing his women at you. He's throwing everything. The white man, you used to never see the white man throw his women out there for brothers to take part in, to have their way with. Now he's giving them to you because he knows his time is up, and it's an act of desperation. You follow what I'm saying? And he knows the only way he's gonna survive is by. Exactly. That's the only way he can survive. You follow what I'm saying? He would have been extinct years ago had we not mixed in with him. You follow? So we pump life into his genetics every time we mix in with him. You follow what I'm saying?
But so they also breed them out.
And that's why it's gonna work against them. So everything they do, it works against them anyway. They think by mixing in, that's gonna help them. What it's gonna do is eventually breed them out anyway. They won't exist. You follow? They're already saying that, in the next 20, 25 years, you won't see any blonde-haired, blue-eyed, 50 years, you won't see any more blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. And that's the original Caucasian. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed, the Flugerod. That's the original one. So when the original is gone, when the blueprint is gone, what you got after that? It's just a matter of time. The rest of them go after that. So he knows the only way he can stay in power is by keeping you, giving him power through loving his image. You follow what I'm saying? The more you still loving his system, his society, his way of life, our women still loving him and how they look. You follow what I'm saying? He's gonna that you give him any little power he has now. I say very little because no one else in the world respects him right now. No one wants his money. No one wants his way of life. No one wants his culture. You follow what I'm saying? The only people that want his culture is you. And not just African Americans here, but Africans. They over there, you gotta go ahead and clean them up. You follow what I'm saying? But no one else in the world looks at him that way. You follow? So as soon as we let him go, it's a wrap. The sad part about it is now the ancestors have to do their job, and a lot of us, because a lot of our people, because they still holding on to his leg, are gonna be destroyed with him. You follow what I'm saying? So our people have to let him go. Our women have to stop wanting to look like white women. You follow what I'm saying? Point blank, period. I can't say it no simpler than that. You follow what I'm saying? They have to stop wanting to look like other than themselves. Period. Right? And brothers, and I don't say our brothers, if you are a conscious-minded individual, you know what I'm saying? That's the first thing you should look at. It's like, listen, I tell women all the time, if I want a white woman, I'll go get it. I'll get a real white woman. I don't want a white woman. You follow what I'm saying? I want a sister. You follow what I'm saying? I want a Melanite. You follow? So once we let him go, he's finished. We're the only people right now holding on to him. Everybody else, South America has let him go. Asia has let him go. You follow? He can't even get support from Europe. Europe got their own problems. You follow what I'm saying? He's on an island by himself now.
It's different because we are so creative. We take things that the Caucasians give us and remix it, what have you. And when you make the comment about, sisters being in an image that is not like their own, it's sort of difficult to tell a sister that, she's in an image or the likeness of a Caucasian, because we took that, say the straight hair or whatever, and remix it into a culture of our own, where you see say a ghetto girl or whatever, blonde wig down her butt in the hazel eyes or whatever, contacts and all that. She don't think she being white. You know what I'm saying? So how do you get that message across?
That's a distortion. I don't know who you think. Exactly. I don't know who you think you're looking like with blonde and hazel eyes. You follow what I'm saying? And I'm not just talking about straight hair, because we have brothers and sisters, Latinos, right? Asians, those are melanite. You follow what I'm saying? I'm talking about his image. I'm talking about what he feels is beautiful. You follow what I'm saying? I'm talking about his way of life, what he does. You know what I'm saying? Bungee jumping. Got niggas bungee jumping now. You know what I'm saying? When we ever bungee jump? That's what I'm trying to figure out. You know what I'm saying? These guys will go and ski and jump off a cliff and break every bone in their body, and as soon as they heal up, they get right back out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out when has this become, and so he started creating sports. He's desperate because every sport we get into, we dominate. So he creates all these destructive sports. He's like, I know they're gonna get into this. So I'm getting in the car, I'm gonna crash the car, flip over 15 times, and come out and look like some kind of hero. You like a butthole. You just got broken up in the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna create all this stuff with ice, hot. He don't like cold, so we get ice hockey, so he won't come out here, because everything we get into, we dominate. You follow what I'm saying? But that's his culture, that's his way of life, that's his way of thinking. You follow what I'm saying? And like I said, the only people, he's only being held up, and don't worry about the Mexicans, don't worry about it. They're gonna learn soon what they're dealing with, because all he's doing is using them anyway. You follow what I'm saying? I don't no, because those people aren't. I don't look at that as a negative. You know what I'm saying? Our people are mad because they're taking jobs. You follow what I'm saying? Or Job. Go read the story of Job in the Bible and learn about his jobs. You follow what I'm saying? Look at what the guy, same thing said about everything in the Bible being good. Because Christians think what happened to Job is noble. His family getting killed, getting boils all over his skin, losing everything, but he won't curse God. I'd have cursed God on the first incident. Man, what the hell you doing? Damn, all my life? I'm serving you all my life, and then this is what you do? This is a test. Damn, a test. I don't need no test. But that's noble to them. They think that's good. He never cursed God. That couldn't be me. I'm sorry. Next question.
Comment on what the sister said. On with that, what I found out from dealing with it over and over with the sisters is like, it's almost trying to teach, they're coming straight to a sister and telling her that I guess like you said, she's like a white woman. That's like trying to teach a person to do algebra without teaching them how to add, multiply, divide, and subtract. So when you detect that image, that tells you got to go into some brain surgery or some other things and take a back door. And then slowly walk them up like the master did us until they can see it.
Or what you have to do is you have to start from the root. And all that starts from here. Right? If you're growing up, first of all, our kids, the only thing they see on TV is what he puts on TV. We don't create shows. We won't go invest money or time or energy into create shows and cartoons and stuff for our children to watch. So all that watching their whole life, and we think it's cute sitting in front of that TV all day. All he's doing is pumping his garbage into him. You follow? So that's why the little black girl gonna always pick up the white doll. Because when she watches Dora the Explorer don't look like her. All the TV programs is programming her to hate herself. You follow what I'm saying? So what you expect? And you can listen. Where it says you can't teach an old dog new trick. You gonna tell a 32-year-old woman something that she's been doing her whole life. You gotta start here. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it can change. I'm not just talking about women, because his brothers are just as much or more culprit than the women now. Because you got brothers. I've been around them. I've been around brothers. Yeah, and the light skins just walk by, and you know what I'm saying? And that's all divisive, because our people come in all shades and colors. That's all divisive. You follow what I'm saying? Those are divisive techniques. But there's something in him. If every time you see a woman with aquiline features and lighter than everyone else, with straight hair, there's something in you triggering. You're starting to trigger something in you that's causing you, you know what I'm saying? So, because he got in our blood. Y'all know that. He got in our blood. So you gotta ask yourself, what part of me is looking at that? That's all I'm saying. I'm saying when you are totally, you don't have a broad spectrum anymore. You follow what I'm saying? Me, I have a broad spectrum. But some brothers know. Some brothers, they just, right there. And it's like, what put you right there? You follow what I'm saying? So that's a mind state, and that's something that's gotta be cured generationally. That's something we gotta start here. We gotta create whatever we do, whatever realm we create for ourselves. When we bring heaven down to earth, which is what we must do. When we bring our heaven down to earth, what we consider heaven, not what he thinks is heaven, not what a Christian thinks is heaven, not what a Muslim or Hebrew Israelite thinks is heaven, what we feel is heaven. When we bring that down, we have to create an environment where we have our own shows, TV or radio, etc., where we are indoctrinating our people with the information that will empower us and have us loving ourselves and not his crap. Now, when we do that, we cannot compromise and say, well, let's just let this show in there. Let's just let this book in there. No, we have to totally cut off. That's difficult for our people. Our people still want to, they got an old gospel song. Our people still want to straddle the fence. We want to be on both sides of the fence. And that's not how you recreate yourself and become a new being. You have to totally be remade anew. You have to let him go totally. You follow what I'm saying? And like I said, that's difficult for our people. I say it all the time. People, they want to be spiritual, they want to go to heaven, but you got people that they can't even leave the United States on earth. I'm talking about going to heaven or some spiritual realm or something. They're locked into this. You got to totally remove yourself from this garbage. Because all it has done since its inception was destroy our people. You follow? Was destroy our people. Perpetually.
Yeah, it's funny because, I'm sorry, you got a quick look. It's funny because I had a conversation about that with a female last night, and I told her basically what you had told me a while ago. Because she was like basically saying, I'm making my own choices. And I basically told her how you said, he's giving you an image, then he gives you variations of the same thing to make you think that you're making a choice. You know what I'm saying? And I used a coach bag for example, because she had a coach bag. And she was like, well, I don't buy Coach all the time. Sometimes I like Gucci, sometimes I like Jerry. And it was like, but you just basically carry the bag the whole thing. So like, you won't be completely free until you identify your own need, and your correct response should be, is just to fulfill your own need, make your own bag.
What about the bag that I think about that he don't have on the shelf? Exactly. What about the shoes that I think about that he doesn't have on the shelf? What do you have to do? You have to make it, because he don't make it. That's when you are making a choice. That's when you are exercising your free will. But prior to that, you go in there and you got 100 pairs of shoes on the shelf. I made this choice. This is what I picked. I make up my own mind. Well, you pick what you put out in front of you, you know. And you get to a point like myself. I'm like, I don't want none of your options. I'm making my own options. I don't want nothing that you put out there. I want to totally reinvent my whole reality for myself and my people, so it can work for us. Because yours don't work for us. And that kind of mentality is dangerous to him. You follow? So as long as you're around him with that mentality, you're a target. So you have to remove, like it goes back to what I said, you have to totally remove yourself. And that type of thinking is why people are at. And it's going to take a lot, a lot of restructuring, reprogramming, rewiring of the brain for a lot of people. Some people just don't get it. You can say, some people you just give them 1 point and they get it. It's different, you got different brain matter beings. If people have different material in their brain, I don't know. You feel what I'm saying? But it's getting to a point now where it's like, it's getting more dangerous to actually risk being out here trying to pull a flock in. It gets to a point where, the master teacher always taught that, it's going to get to a point where the gate shuts. It's like, that's it. You know what I'm saying? And that time is drawing near. Go ahead.
I will, they say that nothing from heaven down on earth. Now, is that similar to how the pyramids are built from the top down?
From the top down, goes back to the same concept.
So bringing it down is really just bringing it from our mental.
Bring it in here. What we feel heaven is for us. You follow? What we feel we want to have, we will have there. What we don't want to have, we won't have it. You follow what I'm saying? Now we've learned enough over here to learn what not to have in our heaven, in our kingdom. You follow what I'm saying? We've learned enough. So heaven exists right here. And you have to bring it out of here and place it in front of you. And that's what it means. And so when you ask Christians, like, what do you mean you're going to heaven? Because according to the Bible, it says God and heaven will come down to earth. It says God will be with his people, and they will be his people here after the chaos or the calamities.
So after the planet's birthing, what would the physical layout of the planet be like? What would the temperature be? What would the land-water ratio be?
Well, scientists are telling you that now. They're telling you that, first of all, the ice is melting. All the ice will be gone. The first projections were 100 years. Now they've actually gotten down to 50 years. They're actually saying in 50 years all that ice will be melted because the planet is coming out of a ice age. They speak of the ice age like no, the planet is still, this planet is not supposed to have ice on it. This is a water planet. You follow? Now as the ice came, and the shore and the earth started to be shown on the planet, and earth started to reveal itself on the planet, that's a different existence. Now you're going into a solar cycle phase on the planet, and all that ice is melting, so the sea level will do what? Rise. You follow what I'm saying? So as the sea level rises, then that's going to overtake a lot of the land masses, a landmass area that you see today. You follow what I'm saying? As it becomes what this planet really is, which is a water planet mostly. You follow? But that you're talking about changes that some of these changes will be abrupt and some of them will be gradual. You follow what I'm saying?
Did you say that there's not supposed to be ice on the planet? Are the animals and all that not supposed to be here?
Yeah, that's a seed. No, yeah, that's a winter seed on the planet. Right? I'm not saying they're not supposed to be here because everything in nature has its purpose, has its reason. You follow what I'm saying? What I'm saying, when you get to a certain level, when this planet gets into a moon cycle phase, that's what happens. They call it ice ages. You follow? When most of the planet freezes up except the equatorial area. Now, as you're coming out of that, which we're coming out of now, because we just left a 24,000 year moon cycle. Not just a 6,000, but a 24,000 year moon cycle. Now we're going into a 24,000 year solar cycle, where the planet will be hotter, the atmosphere will be more dense. You follow what I'm saying? Everything's shifting. That's why you're seeing all these extinctions taking place. Certain species cannot live in that environment. And now what's happening to your genetics, like we just mentioned earlier, your genetics are trying to shift to adapt to these changes so you can live in it. You follow what I'm saying? Because you have lived through these changes before. You have the original gene in you. So now your genes are trying to shift. The problem is you're stopping it. Right? And the more you impede that gene, what you call disease manifests. And you start getting to all these diseases that they're telling you are genetic and hereditary and all this other crap. It's because you're not allowing your body to shift with the cycle, because you're not putting the proper things in it. And not in the proper environment. You have to be somewhere where a direct light arc is hitting where you're living. You follow? A direct light arc. You have to get where the solar energy on the planet is penetrating the hardest, which is the equatorial area where you were birthed at. Next question.
Yeah, going back to what you just said about how we left the moon cycle and now we're going into the solar cycle.
Mm-hmm.
In one of my classes, like a biology class, the teacher was talking about how the conditions was on early Earth, and I think like 2 of the points was that it was mostly covered in water, and that it was just hot, and the water, it was so hot that the water was just practically boiling. So that's what's one thing I just wanted to put out there. How it was in the book, but when you, like, I didn't think of it when I was, reading it in the class, like, okay, yeah, whatever, but it just came back up, like, dang, it's coming around.
Yeah, all of it starting to clear itself up, exactly what the doctor is trying to tell us. And what they're finding out is that in those conditions, they can't live. You follow? You have what's called sun heat genes. Today they come up with a word called melanin. That's what they call it today. They're sun heat genes. You follow? And these are genes that allow you, no matter what conditions on the planet, to live on it. So what's happening to the planet, the ozone layer being removed, and this other star that they see now that's warming the planet up, they ain't telling you about. All this stuff is happening because, like I said, this whole global warming thing, and they fighting over that. They want to sue Al Gore now. He said global, climate change is real, and it's sad that but this is all distraction. They're finding out that not just the Earth is warming up and the ice is melting, but the ice on other planets in the solar system. You follow? So what they're trying to do now is they're trying to stick him so they can say, you're saying that humans are causing global warming, so that's what we're going to get him on. And it doesn't matter who's causing it. The fact is, it's happening. And it's not just happening on Earth, it's happening in the solar system. So that's something external is causing that to happen. Because that's the damn time we're in.
So it's the sun cycle.
Exactly. Called Bennu in ancient Tamil Ray. You follow? Or Atum Ray. The highest point. You follow? Noon. N-U-N. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're getting to. And at that point, everybody that's on the planet now can't live through that cycle. You have to have enough sun heat genes to offset what's happening to this atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? And it will kill some people because, like I said, he did breed and mix in. But then it'll kill some people just because mentally they don't want to live in nothing like that. They tell themselves, I can't live under them conditions. You follow? So as the frequency of the planet, because what happens when things heat up? They speed, the frequency of the molecules speed up. So as the molecules and the frequency start to speed up on the planet, people who are locked in a certain mind state, a certain mode, they snap. They go crazy, and you read about them on the news. You follow? And that's what's happening now. Things are starting to speed up, and people don't know how to deal with it. And on top of that, they're listening to music and listening to TV, and these frequencies is altering, distorting, disturbing, all this crap. And this guy, what's his name? The rapper guy, Dr. Dre. He just came up with some new headphone sets that have more bass in it. Called more bass in it. You follow? Now what the bass does, it opens you up. You follow? That's what bass does. When you're dealing with the own sound, you're dealing with a deep, back in the day they called it baritone. That deep from the solar plex up. Now they got all the artists singing from their nostrils, nasal passages like a white woman and a white man. Screeching sounds, which is sounds of destruction. That deep sound, that's the sound of creation. That deep bass sound when you deal with the own chant. You follow? So now they know that tone, that sound. That's why you got these guys riding around here with that bass. It opens you up. But when it opens you up, it's randomly opening you up while other frequencies are riding in and you're becoming possessed. You know what I'm saying? And he helped the guy from Monster Cable and Irvine, whatever his name, from that record company, make these headphone sets for 5 people.
And now So the high frequency is the frequency that those demonic forces travel on. So that makes sense.
Yeah, demons travel on the high pitch. Our forces deal with the low. You know what I'm saying?
You got the great.
But listen how they did. They tell us that the deep sounds are the low, and then the high pitches are the high when it's the other way around. The deep sounds, right, are the higher frequency pitches, and the low and the screeching sounds are the lower frequency. The deeper the sound, that own chant, the higher the vibration of the frequency. The higher the screech, the lower the vibration. Exactly, and that's his frequency.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to touch on that, the screeching sound too, it destroys whenever you hear, like you can use that to break glass.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's the E sound. The E sound in the English language. If you research the E, they say that's the most frequently used letter in the English language. And the English language even starts with an E. But it's that E sound, that screeching sound. That's just destruction. That's why we gotta speak our language. That's why when we speak our language, you hear a lot of deep tones and deep sounds in it, not that screeching crap in the English language.
My idea of a disciple, my disciples or brothers, all these young boys are being taught to act just like me and go out and just teach. If he's introverted, I don't need him. I don't need quiet people sitting in the class absorbing knowledge. That's heavy. I want people that's going to take it in and go out and teach it. They're not going to teach it, we're wasting our time.